let's just take a moment and just allow yourself to just find a position that's comfortable for a few minutes and allow yourself to truly arrive into this moment. Just allow the awareness the attention. Allow it to withdraw from the things of the external world and to just pull deeply within you. Allow that awareness to become one with the breath. As you breathe in and breathe out, like the waves of the ocean in this unbroken flow of inhalation and exhalation. Just allow your awareness to pull from all of the other places where it's stuck and to come into that one place, that one focus of just your breath. If thoughts come or sensations come, sights, if you open your eyes, or sounds, or any other sensations, smells, if they come, don't allow your awareness to get hooked back into them. Just allow them to blow across your awareness like little small wispy clouds on a windy day. And just keep your awareness focused on that blue sky in between the clouds. I'd only been out a few days, but coming back home is always such an incredibly beautiful gift. So, and coming back into the satsang and back together with all of you. So we'll start as always with a question that's come in advance from our global audience, those joining us from online via the internet from all over the world. And then we'll open it up to any questions that any of you might have. Well, all right, we'll jump right in the deep end. Why is premarital sex considered immoral and against religion? This has been asked by Annie on Instagram. Why is premarital sex considered immoral and against religion? Okay. So, certainly for Hinduism, and I am most definitely not a scholar of comparative religions, but as far as I know, for most religions in the world, especially at their most traditional, most fundamental levels, the purpose of sex is to propagate the human species, to have children, to pass on not just genes, but to pass on morals and values and ethics, and to create a good society, a good world, to have children, to do your duty and then raise them well and raise them properly and bring good people into the world to contribute to society in this way that in traditional religion is really kind of the duty of everyone who isn't an official monk or nun. In Hinduism specifically, we have a really core teaching that is rooted and anchored in the fact that you are not your bodies. All of the teachings, all of the philosophy, all of the scriptures, the wisdom, all of it is rooted upon one very core fundamental truth, which is you are spirit, you are soul, you are divinity, you are essence. One of the most well-known, most fundamental core mantras of the Hindu tradition that I recite frequently for a whole variety of reasons because it's such a powerful mantra. But the mantra says, Om Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamsoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Now I won't go into all of the depth of that because that in and of itself could be a long talk. But the last line and the culmination of really what it's about is, oh God, help me to realize that I am not this individual body that was born, that changes, that dies, but help me realize that I am soul, that I'm spirit, that I was never born, I never die, I'm immortal. It's core teaching of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna to Arjuna, who you are is that which cannot be burned by fire, dried by the wind, cut by knives. Who you are is immortal. You were never born. You will never die. So this is a very, very fundamental teaching of the Hindu tradition. You have a body. due to your karmic package, your karmic journey. The body is that vehicle through which you move on your karmic journey, through which you fulfill your dharma. But Maya, that illusion, is the false identification with the body, with the story, with the narrative. Therefore, that was all the preface. Therefore, to do things that are anchored and grounded and rooted only in pleasure for the body is seen as absolutely backwards to spiritual practice. That you're going in the absolute opposite direction. The spiritual practices are things like fasting, intense yoga. People will stay up all night, not many nights in a row, but on special religious nights. It's Shivaratri. It's a special full moon. It's Krishna Janmashtami. Whatever it may be, people stay awake. Guidebooks, what to do. People just intuitively know. Even people who aren't vegetarians will go vegetarian. Even people who normally might drink some alcohol will abstain from alcohol. Monogamous, dharmic, married couples will abstain from sex simply because they're on a spiritual pilgrimage, or it's a spiritual day, or for whatever reason. All of these practices will be done on any day or any place or any occasion that is considered a religious one, a spiritual one, a sacred one. Because they're all things that are rooted and anchored in the pleasures of the body. And so the reason that premarital sex is frowned upon so much in Hinduism is because clearly you're not ready to have children. In many cases because you're too young. In other cases just because there isn't a family structure. If you're just dating, you're not married. Well, what if you get pregnant? What's going to happen to the child? It's not a structure in which to bring a child into the world. And since having children is the only really spiritually sanctioned reason for having sex, then premarital sex is considered not right. Also, in traditional Hindu society, both the bride and the groom are supposed to be with each other for the first time. They're both meant to be virgins. The marriage is supposed to be the first time that either of them is with anyone. So it's another element to it. Then it's not just, well, you're doing it for fun and not for procreation, but it's also an affront in many ways to the traditional belief around marriage and system of marriage and what's considered a sanctity of marriage. But it goes beyond just premarital. It's the same reason why if a married couple, a monogamous married couple, a dharmic, righteous married couple, who already had their one child or two children or three children or whatever it may be, if they came to any religious leader and they said, oh God, yeah, we have sex all day long. We have it in every room of the house. We have it all the time. It's like it's all we do. Kitchen table, dining room table, everywhere. We have in the garage. That religious leader would say, Bas, bahut ho gaya. Like, enough. Stop. Not because they're not married, not because they're having an affair, not because there's anything amoral about it, but simply because it's considered off the path. It's considered simply that which is reminding you of something which isn't true, which is that you are the body. And it's reinforcing a focus around pleasure in the body, whereas spiritually we're supposed to be focused on recognizing that we are not the body. So that's the spiritual and also the cultural reason, especially in Hinduism. And I can't speak too much to the other religions, but my instinct is it's probably pretty similar. Other questions? Yes, you can just come to the mic here.
Hello, I'm really interested in your insights on the connection between spirituality and psychology. Specifically, if you see a relationship between sense withdrawal in meditation and dissociation in the kind of world of psychology, I'd love to hear. Thank you.
Great question. Okay. So, the relationship not just generally between spirituality and psychology, but specifically between spiritual teachings, precepts, things that we want to learn how to do, things that are on our path of meditation or sensory withdrawal, what's called pratyahara in the yoga tradition, and that which we refer to as dissociation in psychology. Great question. Dissociation is an instinctive removal, and this is not a Webster's dictionary or even DSM dictionary definition for it. This is my definition for our community. It is a withdrawal of the presence and awareness and identification with the being in the present moment who is suffering. And typically a withdrawal to a safer, nicer, better place. It typically arises in cases with child abuse, especially severe abuse. So you have a child who is being abused, and instead of staying mentally, psychologically present in the body, in the identification as the one who's being abused, the child will literally disassociate from the one who's being harmed, and they will go into a nicer, better place. And so whether it's an actual place, whether we're headed off into Narnia, or whether we are just on a cloud, or we are at the North Pole with Santa Claus, or, it could be a specific place that the child actually envisions, or it is just a disconnection and a shutting off of the association of myself with that which is happening to the body in that moment. It can feel very much later on like meditation. When I meditated for the very first time, I said, oh my God, I know this place. Now, I was 2 decades, there was a 2-decade period between when I had started dissociating and when I had started meditating. But the minute that I started meditating, it was this incredibly familiar place of, oh my God, this is where I used to go to when I was dissociating as a kid. However, that was only in the very, very beginning, because meditation is all about presence and dissociation is all about absence. In dissociation, I go anywhere. Any place other than right here, right now. It's the I am not. I am pushing away with my awareness, with my consciousness, with my presence, from the being who is in that situation in that moment. And whether I'm pushing away into an actual visual place where it feels safe in my mind, or whether I'm literally just shutting down and splitting off and boxing up, either way, I'm pushing away and I'm leaving. Meditation is actually the exact opposite. Meditation is I'm right here, right now, in presence. Fully. All of it. My consciousness, my awareness, my presence, my mindfulness. It's right here. However, when you describe them like that, they sound like opposites, while the felt sense experience, especially in the very, very early days of meditation, can feel very similar. Because in both cases, unless you're practicing a Vipassana or awareness-based style of meditation that's bringing you specifically into the body, if you're practicing any other type of meditation, especially a mantra-based meditation, or a kundalini style of meditation, or anything that is focused on not the body, if you have a history of dissociation, it can feel like, oh yeah, I know this place. But if you stay with it, what you'll realize is meditation is calling upon you to be present, but to be present with a truth that is you are not the body. So the body exists. It's here. But there is an I who exists who is not the body, but who is aware of the body. In dissociation, I have very purposely, either consciously or subconsciously, depending on how old I am, dulled my awareness of that which is happening, because to be aware I am being abused is too painful, especially for the child. Meditation is calling upon your awareness to this moment. So if you find that your meditation seems like dissociation, it means bring more presence. Come back. Come back. Yes, I'm chanting my mantra. Or yes, I'm focusing on the breath, or a candle flame, or a word, and I am fully here in this moment. so present with the moment that if what I'm focusing on is the breath, I am one with the breath even long before it enters my nostrils. So I'm right here, but with a much more deep and full sense of self than simply the body awareness that we normally have. Does that make sense? Okay. Yeah. Great question. Other questions? Yes.
Pranam Sadhviji. So I think I spoke to you 2 years back. I don't think you recall me, but that's okay. So I've been... Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. Sadhviji, I've been practicing meditation all for the past almost 2-3 years. Mostly non-duality. You could say Muji Baba and all. I'm assuming you know these people. And somewhere I've reached a point where the awareness is strong. There is a recognition, a very strong recognition of thoughts and verbalizations internally. And the being is becoming very silent also. But, you know, I've read your book, I've read Swami Pujaji's book, and, you know, there's so many experiences described that somewhere there's this innate want for some kind of experience to blow up, right? Like the awareness is becoming stronger, but there's no, it's not moving to that further stage that at least I imagined it would, right? And I don't know, where does someone go from here? Does someone just keep marinating in the awareness? I mean, this is a serious question. Also, I don't know if,
Absolutely.
but where does someone go from here, basically?
Beautiful. So, you mentioned that you're embarking on a practice of non-duality, a non-duality meditation-based. So the dilemma with the craving for experience when we're focusing on a practice of non-duality is that you're pulling yourself in two directions simultaneously. To have an experience, there must be an experiencer who is separate from the experience. In an experience, there is subject and object. An experience is basically consciousness or awareness, however we want to speak about it, plus an object. So I have an experience of anything, whether it's a tangible object or a non-tangible object. But the experience is awareness or consciousness plus object. Whether that object is French fries I'm eating, I have an experience of eating French fries, or the experience is, or the object is a signal from the stomach that I am hungry, or in the brain that I want French fries. Either way, experience is consciousness plus object. So there's two. The practice of non-duality at the core, deepest level says there is not two. There is nothing but Brahman. There is nothing but the Supreme Reality. Everything else exists in me. It's all me. So for example, I have a dream. Now in the dream I have a lot of experiences. Nice experiences, not nice experiences. So many different experiences. Eating, running, sleeping, enjoying, all these things we do in the dream. But when you wake up, you realize that all happened in me. Inside me, there was no running. There was no eating. There was no talking. Right? In our dream, we meet so many people, we talk to so many people, we go so many places. But when you wake up, you realize, oh my God, all of those places, all of those people, all of that which I was doing in my dream existed in me. There is nothing but me. You could say, yeah, there was this person and that person, but no. It only seemed like that while I was asleep. But when I wake up, I realize, no, these people did not actually come from their homes and get into my bed with me and do all of the things that I was envisioning them doing in my dream. 100%. You could go to Disneyland in your dream and every single ride is in you. Right? I am the Matterhorn, I am Dumbo, I am this, I am that. It all happened in me. And therefore, in the same way that when I wake up from that dream, I realize it all was me. There was nothing other than me. All the pain, all the pleasure, all the adventure, all the experience. Whatever happens in my dream, there is nothing but me. Not even a little something. Nothing but me. And in the same way, when I wake up from this dream, meaning attaining enlightenment, moksha, realization, I realize that all of these experiences, the people, the places, there is nothing but me. It's just that we haven't woken up from this dream yet. The practice of the non-dual, or what we speak about is the Advaita Vedanta stream, the practice, is that core awareness, there is nothing but me. So the yearning for an experience is actually pulling you in the exact opposite direction of what the very practice is about. So it's not surprising that you're feeling frustrated and stuck. Because every time that you might begin to have an experience, if you're a good practitioner of non-duality, there's going to be a part of you that says, no, it's all me. Just be aware. I am only the awareness. There is nothing else. And so your own practice, in a way, is going to keep you from having certain experiences. But it's also going to give you other experiences, and that's why all of the paths work. But it's really beneficial to stick to one, at least for a certain period of time, rather than trying to do several of them simultaneously. It's not that you have to stick to one forever, but at least different parts of your study. It's like if you tried to teach children algebra and addition at the same time, they'd get very, very confused. So first you teach addition. Then you can teach what multiplication means. Then you can take them into algebra. But until and unless they've mastered addition, they won't understand multiplication. And until and unless they've understood multiplication and mastered it, they will not understand algebra. And so if the Advaita Vedanta non-dual path is the one that feels to you the most calling and true and right for you, follow it fully and stop waiting for an experience. Recognize that any experience you have is happening in you. So instead of waiting for some different type of experience, allow every moment's experience to be happening in you. Ah, there's frustration. This is happening in me. Ah, there's hunger. Ah, there's eating. Ah, there's this. It's all happening in me. Can you continually identify as the one who is manifesting it? You know, there's a practice called lucid dreaming, where through certain techniques, you are supposed to be able to essentially be aware while you're dreaming and even try to control your dreams. It's never been something that I've gotten into, but I know people who have. And the point of it really is to, instead of getting lost in the dream, maintain some ability to anchor in identification with the one who is dreaming. So the drama is on, but I'm anchoring as the director rather than as the actor. And in the same way, what I would say to you is, in your day-to-day life, can you anchor as the one who is manifesting this reality? In the same way that you as the dreamer is manifesting your dreams. Everything that happens, can you just stay aware, this is all happening in me. This is happening in me. Walk down the streets and really tell yourself, this is happening in me. It's quite a practice. Because, of course, the logical mind says, what do you mean this is happening in me? This is all these people here, and they're all doing their thing. But according to that teaching and truth, it is all happening in you. It is a dream that you are manifesting. So let that be your path to a deeper practice, rather than looking for something that goes fundamentally, philosophically against the very principles that you're working with right now. Good. Does that make sense? Does that feel good? Wonderful. Yes?
How do I find my guru?
How to find your guru, the perennial question. So, what is said is that when the student is ready, the guru appears. And so we have to make ourselves ready. The dilemma for a lot of us is that we have a really kind of clear idea of what we're looking for in a guru, which in most cases is someone to make us feel really good about exactly how we're living. And to pretty much tell us that how we're living, what we're doing is exactly perfect. And so the dilemma comes when we are in the presence of a master who either directly or indirectly might be putting us in difficult situations. Emotionally difficult, spiritually difficult, physically difficult. Swamiji had to stand on one leg 11 hours a day. So difficult on many, many levels. And, you go back not very many years, especially in India, but in much of the world, there wasn't the availability of anything and everything in a moment's notice that we have today. These days, literally anything and everything that we want, other than, of course, that which actually matters, like happiness or peace or love, but anything tangible that we want, and even untangible. I mean, a lot of information is available to us in a moment. Between ATM machines, between Amazon, between online YouTube and Google and AI and all of this, I mean, everything is available in a moment. Just like that, whatever you want. You don't like this, get another one. Free returns. Right? Immediate. You get something you don't like, free returns. And we've gotten into a kind of cultural habit of, try it on, walk around in it for a while, make sure that it's absolutely perfect, and if it doesn't work, give it back. And a lot of this is happening spiritually as well, where especially with so much available, on social media, and especially with social media trying to get us all to give wisdom in 90 seconds or less, is you end up with sound bites instead of actually truth. And the dilemma with sound bites is they don't really take you to the depth of where you're supposed to go. But if we develop a culture and a society where all we've got the attention span for is 15 seconds, 30 seconds, well, we're never going to get anything deeper. Because life doesn't come in sound bites. It's the reason why any kind of education system, whether academic education, spiritual education, psychological education, whatever it is, it always has involved time and attention and depth and focus and commitment. It's only these days where you can literally send away for a certificate of something and you get it and, download your certificate. There you are, done, advanced course. And so I think in a lot of cases, especially these days, we do find ourselves in front of or in the presence of gurus. But it doesn't necessarily feel as ego-fulfilling as we would like it to. And so we move on and we keep looking for a different one, a snugger fit, something that feels better. So when we talk about being a ready disciple, it doesn't mean blind faith. It doesn't mean, whoever shows up before you, that you just take that person, hook, line, and sinker, whoever they may be, whatever they may say. But it means that you are distinguishing and deciding from a much more deep internal compass that's taking you someplace that's deep and meaningful, rather than just someone who's going to say, ha ha, wah, 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 bahal badiya, shabash. If that's all you want, there's a lot out there. But it's not going to necessarily take you very deep. And as people, our attention spans are getting much less. Our tolerance is getting much less for anything. And to be sincere spiritual disciples, there needs to be attention, there needs to be intention, there needs to be an ability to tolerate discomfort of the ego so that the truth of who you are can emerge. So I have faith that when we're ready, the Guru comes, and until that happens, we do have the blessing these days of access to so much wisdom through books, through teachings and writing, through videos, through so much, That it's not like we can't learn or dive deep just because we haven't found a guru yet. So it's actually a very big boon and benefit of the technological age of having all of that access. Beautiful. Yeah, last question.
Thank you, Sadhviji. So basically, I have two questions, but let me start with the first. So, I was reading Srimad.
Just come a little closer to the mic so we can...
Am I audible now? Yeah, okay, thanks. So I was reading Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and it says that, the attachment is the root cause of all the problems, right? So living in a family, how to practice detachment?
And what is the second question?
Second question is about, it also says that, I'm not the body, right? I'm a soul, and this is how my religion teaches me. So if I'm a soul, not a body, of course the supreme power, the God, should not have a body. So why, if I go to the temples and all around, I see bodily structures as my God?
I'm sorry?
I see bodily structures as my God. So I see God in the shape of a body in the temples. So why is it so?
So first of all, how do we practice non-attachment in the family? And second of all, if we're not the body, if we're soul, we're spirit, and there is no body of God, why do we worship God in form, in bodies, in temples? So with regard to attachment and love are definitely not the same thing. Very frequently they go together, but they are not the same thing. And the teaching of non-attachment does not mean don't love. What it means is love on the deepest level. Love soul, love spirit, love essence. But don't be attached to how that person is speaking, how they're acting, how they're treating you. Otherwise, you fall in love, and then you fall out of love. I fall in love when I really like how you're acting, how you're speaking, how you're treating me. And then I fall out of love when I no longer like that. So actually, the practice of non-attachment takes us into a much deeper love. Because it's a love of the other that is non-conditional, that is not based on you dancing according to my tune. It's based on a soul connection. It's based on I see you as soul, as spirit, as divinity, as essence. And yeah, there may be actions that you do, words you use, choices you make that my ego, my psyche does not appreciate because they are out of alignment with what my ego and my psyche have decided are right. But if I'm able to love you anyway, well, not only is that a benefit to the practice of non-attachment, but it's a great benefit to my ability to really love you and for us to come much, much, much deeper. Because then you're really able to love someone other than just needing them to treat you a certain way, to behave in a certain way. So that's actually the deepest form of love. So to bring non-attachment into family would be to create a very deeply spiritual, connected family in which there's a lot of love, but not a lot of micromanagement, not a lot of, how dare you, I need this, you better do that, who do you think you are? Not that kind of stuff. And that's when our families become part of our spiritual practice. And with regard to the second question, the deities we worship in mandirs are representations of different forms that the infinite supreme reality has taken at different times. So let's say, take the ocean. Let's say that instead of there being lots of different oceans, there's only one ocean. Okay, it's an infinite ocean. Well, the ocean has waves. So there are moments in which the ocean takes the form of a wave. But even as a wave, it's still ocean. Right? The highest truth of wave is ocean. So when we think about the divine in form, it's not that all of God came into this one form, and that somehow there was no more God anywhere else, but that God now was all in this form. But rather that this form was a manifestation of, an incarnation of the divine in form on earth at a specific time for a specific purpose. And this is actually what Bhagavan Krishna tells us in the Gita. He says, whenever adharma means lack of righteousness, lack of goodness, is winning out over dharma, over goodness, over righteousness, when darkness is winning out over light, I incarnate in form on earth to bring back light to the darkness, to bring back dharma to the adharma. So we see these forms who are divine embodiments of, incarnations of the supreme reality. But it doesn't mean that all of the supreme reality is in that form, right? The supreme reality is infinite, formless, but it can therefore take any form. The flow of water is formless, but if I stick a glass in it, the glass will fill up with water. Now water is in the form of my glass. But it doesn't mean that somehow water has now developed a form and is no longer formless. It just means that this part of water for this period of time is in this form for a specific reason, namely because I have filled up my glass with water. That's all it means. So we worship like that because for many people, not all of them, there's also temples dedicated to the formless, nameless, infinite Brahman, infinite supreme reality. But honestly, especially if you're a practitioner of bhakti yoga, who are the ones who are worshiping the divine mostly in form, it's a lot easier to love a being in form than to love a nameless, formless reality. Like if you close your eyes and you try to love Krishna, or love Ram, or love Ganeshji, or love Hanuman, or love Bhagwan Shiva, or love Ma Durga, or Lakshmi Ma, for most of us that is so much easier than trying to love a nameless, formless, omnipresent supreme reality. And so it's a doorway into it. It's a doorway into it. So if it works for you, use it. If it doesn't work for you, no problem. Aham brahmasmi. You've got all of the scriptures, teachings, mantras, just work with that. There's no rule that says you must worship the divine in the form of a deity. But just worship however you can worship so that you can connect. That's the goal, is just get connected. Beautiful. have a wonderful, beautiful rest of your evening. A beautiful morning and day to our family joining us from online from around the world. We'll now be back to having daily satsang. So I look so forward to seeing you all tomorrow. So much love to you all.